context in data, applying some basic rules to make your data sing. Alright, lads and lasses, welcome along. So this is a build I've done on the New York City taxi data for the other channel, or other line of work. Like, the main thing we wanted to show was around applying that context layer. So it's not difficult to do, and I'll take you through how we've done the top line chart today, and I'll do a separate demo video on how we've built the column chart, right? But the line chart is basic, okay? And it is really useful. So if we have a look at it actually in a bit more detail, let us switch out to the demo view. So for the line chart, I've set this up so that what we can do is we can actually look and see if we expand it, it expands. If we contract the area, the timeline that we're looking into, it gives us a narrower view so we can actually see where are our outliers. And that's key. That's a really important part of being able to analyze data, is understanding outliers. And you'll see that this is something that's mentioned and discussed a lot in Power BI. And there are ways of doing it. But if we look and we say, well, let's take out those lines. If I just look at that, it can be tricky to understand what's normal. Where's the right point that I should be getting involved with? And there's lots of other things you can do. There's lots of discussion going on. One of the nice things that you can do, though, in Power BI is we can put in averages, if you remember. So we could put in our average journey count and just present that on here. So that's going to give me my little average line, okay? The other thing that we've put in, if you remember, is that it's possible to do standard deviation. And we've talked about standard deviation before, but potentially you've not seen it being used. So in this case, I've gone standard deviation for the all selected calendar. So the bits of the calendar we've selected, what's the standard deviation for those? So it's going to be contextual. So if we've got the whole calendar selected, it'll be against the whole calendar. If we've got a week, it'll be against the week. Okay. Now, just that in isolation is pretty useless, because if I put that on the chart here, you'll see, well, that's pretty rubbish, Ross, man. You know, it's down at the bottom. What's the value add in that? What you need to remember is that the standard deviation, though, is a link to your mean. So you've got your lower and your upper now. And those are basically where average journey count plus or minus the standard deviation. So the lower is obviously minus the standard deviation, and the upper is plus the standard deviation. And you can put those in. And then because we've put those in, all of a sudden, the mind just becomes, right, we've got a band. And if we were even to say, right, well, let's drop out the average, we've got, here's our normal band. This is normal. And you can play with the color schemes. It's up to you what you do, you know, and we can see in the columns at the bottom that we'll do in a separate video that I've gone with red for low and amber for high. And now, from a taxi perspective, if I was the controller of taxis or something like that, right, I might think, well, you know, I've got yellows coming up, and every year we'll have yellows on this period, or we see weather is this, so we have yellows following it. I need to make sure I have more taxi drivers available. You know, potentially that's something I need to do. Equally, when we're expecting to have reds, we might say, nah, we can be a lot quieter. I don't know how the taxi system works in New York. I don't know how the employment side is. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't mind. But you can kind of get the picture. You know, if we were looking at this from a retail environment, that would be how we would look, wouldn't we? You know, we're busy times coming up. I need to make sure all my staff are around. I've got quiet times. Now is ideal for you to take holidays. You know, you've kind of got that ebb and flow. You can start to understand. You can also start to understand things like macro trends. So long-term trending here is very possible, because we can look and say, well, across the whole period, what's going on? And it becomes very clear that we are dropping down through this even before we get to the nasty times of COVID. So if we went to the 31st of December 2020, you know, you can see that is a drop. It's the banding is dropped. So this is a very powerful way of being able to present your data. And we can look at it either, we can look at it month by month, so we could look at April's year on year, and we can see, yeah, definitely that drop, it's there. May's, June's, July's, it's a nice way of being able to do it. Is there an issue going on Saturdays and Sundays? And you can see it took minutes to put that in, because it's just a case of taking a few measures, right? There are calculation groups now, and we'll do that next week, where we'll put this into a calculation group, so you'd be able to use it against any of your measures. And then you can build charts to your heart's content using those. So enjoy the rest of Christmas. I hope you have a try of doing this kind of thing. I hope you look at what you can do to build better reports and make context more prevalent in your lives. And of course, don't forget to watch the demo video on how the column chart's been built. For now, though, take care of yourselves and your families. Bye.